Maya stepped into Harbor House Coffee and immediately registered the anomaly. Helen Ward was missing. Instead, Wade Harlan occupied the reserved table, while Travis Boone stood near the register. A man by the counter aimed a phone toward her. Outside, 6 motorcycles bearing the Black Reaper's emblem lined the curb. This was not a meeting, it was a staged scene. Earlier that day, an appointment had appeared on Maya's department calendar. A business owner named Helen Ward claimed she needed confidential advice about pressure involving a harbor inspection. Maya had confirmed that Ward's company existed, but the request included no case number and no citizen contact form. Now Wade was waiting at the exact location, while his riders watched from outside. "Mr. Harlan," Maya said. "Why are you here?" Wade smiled. "Where are you going, sweetheart? Why don't you come have some fun with us?" The man with the phone began recording. "Step away from the table. That is no way to greet someone who came to thank you. I have never arranged a meeting with you. Maybe not directly." Wade raised his voice. The inspection moved along. The right people stopped asking questions. "We appreciate officers who understand how the city works." Maya remained calm, activating the emergency audio function on her body camera. Wade was baiting her with vague references to inspections and cooperation to manufacture evidence of a conspiracy. She scanned the room. Travis in a heavy jacket, the photographer framing the entire scene, and the riders outside monitoring the exits. The setup had been completed before she arrived. "Wade Harlan has approached me during a scheduled community meeting and referred to an inspection matter. I have informed him that no agreement or prior arrangement exists between us." Wade glanced toward the photographer. "Recording this will not help you," he said. "It establishes the sequence." Travis approached from behind, carrying a paper cup. "Excuse me, Sergeant." He struck Maya's left shoulder as he passed. A cream-colored envelope slipped from inside his jacket, touched the edge of Maya's open duty bag, and fell beside her foot. The photographer began taking pictures before the envelope stopped moving. Maya did not bend down. The envelope had opened enough to reveal cash and a typed note. "Inspection resolved final payment." Her badge number appeared beneath the message. Wade looked at the envelope. "That is going to be difficult to explain." Maya stepped away from it. "No one touch it." She turned to the cafe manager. "Call police dispatch. Report suspected evidence planting. Request a supervisor and an evidence technician." The manager reached for the phone. Wade raised his hands. "There is no need to make this dramatic. Mr. Boone made contact with my shoulder. The envelope fell from inside his jacket. The area is now evidence." Travis laughed. "It came from your bag. The security footage will show otherwise." Maya continued for the body camera record. The photographer began taking pictures before the envelope reached the floor. Mr. Harlan referred to an inspection and a payment before the envelope appeared. Members of his organization arrived outside when I entered. Wade moved closer but stayed beyond her reach. "People will see a police sergeant standing beside cash. They will also see how it got there. That depends on which part they are shown." The front door opened. Gordon Price entered wearing a business suit. Maya recognized him from public contractor records. His company had received work connected to the Port Mason Harbor redevelopment project, but she had never met him. He walked directly toward her. "Sergeant Williams." "Stop where you are." Gordon ignored the instruction, reached for her hand, and forced a brief handshake. "Thank you for taking care of the inspection problem." A camera flashed from outside. Maya pulled her hand free. "State your full name." "You know who I am. I have never met you, and I have never handled an inspection involving your company." Gordon turned toward the exit. "Mr. Price, remain here. You are a material witness in a suspected evidence-planting incident." He continued walking. The riders moved aside to let him pass. Maya did not follow. If she left the envelope unsecured, Wade and Travis could alter the scene. If she physically detained Gordon before establishing an offense, the available footage would show only a young black female officer putting her hands on a businessman. Every response had been anticipated. Wade lowered his voice. "You are starting to understand. I understand that none of this works without help from inside the department." His expression changed for a moment. Then an unmarked sedan stopped outside. The riders moved aside before it reached the curb. 2 internal affairs investigators stepped out. The manager had only just picked up the phone when an unmarked internal affairs sedan pulled to the curb. The response time defied standard dispatch protocol. The investigators hadn't been summoned. They had been waiting nearby for the scene to trigger. One of them stepped inside and moved directly toward Maya. "Sergeant Williams, step away from the table." "The envelope was planted by Travis Boone," Maya said. "Gordon Price made a false statement and left after I instructed him to remain. Secure every recording before anyone has access to it. We will handle the evidence. Who notified your office?" The investigator did not answer. The second investigator turned to Wade. "Were you scheduled to meet Sergeant Williams?" Wade gave him a concerned look. "No. I stopped for coffee. She was already here. Then the money fell out of her bag." "That statement is false," Maya said. He discussed the inspection before the envelope appeared. "We will take statements from everyone, then separate the witnesses." Neither investigator moved to separate Wade, Travis, the photographer, or the riders outside. Instead, Maya was ordered to surrender her department phone. She understood the purpose. Once Internal Affairs controlled the device, they could limit her access to the calendar entry, delay contact with Captain Grant, and interfere with her ability to preserve the origin of the false appointment. Maya removed the phone. "For the body camera record, I am surrendering my department phone. I have requested preservation of my official calendar, the complete cafe security footage, all exterior recordings, and every image taken inside this building." The investigator accepted the phone without responding. As Maya was escorted outside, she looked back through the window. Wade and Travis stood beside the planted envelope, while the photographer showed them his images. None of them appeared surprised by the arrival of Internal Affairs. The false appointment had brought Maya to the cafe. The motorcycles had confirmed her arrival. Wade had created the appearance of an agreement. Travis had planted the payment. Gordon had supplied the staged confirmation. The cameras had captured selected moments. Internal Affairs had arrived before any legitimate call could have brought them there. The accusation had not triggered the investigation. The investigation had been waiting for the accusation. Internal Affairs kept Maya in the conference room for nearly 2 hours before Deputy Chief Robert Hale arrived. The room was normally used for budget meetings and promotion interviews. That choice mattered. It allowed the department to describe the process as administrative, while treating Maya as though guilt had already been established. Captain Evelyn Grant sat at one end of the table. 2 Internal Affairs investigators occupied the opposite side. A city attorney had placed a closed folder in front of him. Maya's union representative arrived last and apologized for the delay. Hale entered carrying a single sheet of paper. "Sergeant Williams," he said, "this is an unfortunate situation." Maya remained seated. "Then preserve the evidence and determine what happened." "That is exactly what we intend to do. I asked the investigators to secure the cafe recordings, the exterior footage, my complete body camera file, and the origin of the appointment on my calendar." Hale placed the paper on the table. "Those requests will be considered. They are time-sensitive. So is public confidence." The city attorney opened his folder. "Sergeant Williams, a formal complaint has been submitted by Gordon Price. He alleges that you accepted money in exchange for interfering with a harbor inspection. I have never met him before today. He says otherwise. Then his statement is false." One investigator slid a photograph across the table. It showed Maya beside the open envelope. The cash was visible near her duty bag, while Wade stood a few feet away. The image did not show Travis releasing the envelope. Maya looked at the investigator. "Where is the full sequence? We are still collecting material. You already have a selected photograph. It was provided to us. By whom?" The investigator did not answer. The second photograph showed Gordon holding Maya's hand. Her face was partly turned away, making the forced contact look like a private greeting. Maya set the photographs down. These were taken from planned positions. The people who created the scene supplied the first evidence used against me. Hale folded his hands. "That is one possible interpretation. It is the sequence recorded on my body camera. The recording is being reviewed. Then play it." The 2 investigators exchanged a glance. Hale answered for them. "The department cannot release active evidence during a preliminary review. I am not asking for a copy. I am asking you to confirm that the recording still exists. It was logged. That is not what I asked. Captain Grant shifted in her chair. She still had not looked directly at Maya. Hale's expression remained calm. Sergeant, this conversation will be more productive if you stop treating every procedural answer as proof of misconduct. This procedure began before the evidence existed. The room went still. Maya pointed to the paper in front of Hale. May I see that document? It is your administrative suspension notice. When was it prepared? Hale's fingers remained on the page. It was prepared after the department became aware of the allegation. Then let me see the timestamp. The city attorney intervened. We are not conducting a cross-examination. No, Maya said. You are suspending me. Hale slid the paper across the table. Maya read the first paragraph, then examined the footer. The form carried her full name, rank, badge number, and a printed creation time earlier than the moment the envelope had appeared at Harbor House. She kept her face still. The document had not been modified after the accusation. It had been waiting for it. Maya looked at Hale. This form was created before Gordon Price approached me. That is an automatically generated system field. My name and badge number are not automatic. It is common for command staff to prepare documents when an issue is developing. What issue was developing before anything happened? Hale leaned back. You are focusing on clerical details instead of the seriousness of the evidence. The details establish when this decision was made. The decision is temporary. It was also early. The union representative cleared his throat. Deputy Chief, perhaps we should slow this down until counsel has reviewed the materials. Hale ignored him. Sergeant Williams, you will be placed on administrative suspension, with pay pending a full internal affairs review. You will surrender your badge, department identification, access card, supervisory credentials, and all issued equipment. Maya looked toward Captain Grant. Captain? Grant finally met her eyes. Follow the order, Maya. You believe this evidence? I believe the department has to review it. The suspension was prepared before the complaint. Grant's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Her silence hurt more than Hale's decision. Hale had entered the room as an opponent. Grant had entered as Maya's commanding officer. If you believe Maya, a young black police sergeant who was framed, betrayed, and stripped of her badge, despite remaining calm and standing by the truth, deserves justice, please like this video to stand with Maya and remind her that she is not fighting alone. Then tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because someone near you may also be watching Maya's story right now. Maya removed her badge and placed it on the table. The metal struck the wood with a small sound. She added her identification card and access badge. An investigator documented each item while the city attorney watched. Hale spoke in the same measured tone. This action is not a finding of guilt. Then why has the media already been told? Rachel, Bennett, and several other reporters had been waiting outside headquarters before Maya's interview ended. Someone had released the cafe photographs and the bribery allegation almost immediately. Hale glanced at the city attorney. The department does not control independent reporting. You control information inside this building. I will not respond to speculation. You are asking me to accept consequences based on speculation. We are asking you to respect the process. Maya stood. What access will I have to the evidence used against me? Your representative will be notified according to policy. When? When the preliminary review is complete. Who controls the review? Internal Affairs. Who assigned the investigators? Hale's expression hardened for the first time. That question is inappropriate. It is relevant. No, Sergeant. What is relevant is whether a public officer accepted money from a contractor. What is relevant is whether the people investigating me were already waiting outside the cafe. The first investigator closed his notebook. We were responding to information received by our office. What information? We cannot identify the source during an active inquiry. Maya looked at each person at the table. They had photographs without the full sequence. A complaint from a man who had walked into the cafe on cue, and suspension paperwork prepared before the event. Yet every request for context was treated as interference. Hale stood and adjusted his jacket. You are young enough to recover from this if you cooperate. Maya studied him. The sentence sounded less like concern than instruction. Recover from what? An investigation or a conclusion? Hale did not answer. A department employee escorted Maya through the main corridor. Officers who normally greeted her lowered their eyes or found reasons to look busy. A lieutenant who had congratulated her on her promotion the previous month stepped into an office before she passed. At the lobby doors, Maya saw reporters gathered on the sidewalk. Rachel stood apart from them. Maya did not stop. By the time she reached home, local news had already shown the photograph of the envelope beside her bag. The anchor described her as one of the department's youngest supervisors and mentioned that she had been promoted during a department diversity initiative. No one reported that she had requested preservation of the full video. No one reported that internal affairs had arrived before the cafe manager's call could have reached them. Maya turned off the television. She opened the kitchen drawer where she kept her personal notebook and took out Isaiah's old ledger pencil. On the first blank page, she wrote the date, then listed the sequence in order. False appointment, Wade waiting inside, motorcycles arriving with her, envelope planted, Gordon appearing on cue, internal affairs already nearby, suspension form prepared early. Below the list, she wrote one final sentence. The decision existed before the evidence. The next morning, Maya parked 2 blocks from Dottie's diner and entered through the side door. Ben Carter was already waiting in a rear booth. He had chosen a table away from the windows and brought no department phone, laptop, or tablet. A folded church bulletin lay beside his coffee. Maya sat across from him. You should not be here. I know. If internal affairs is checking my contacts, meeting me could become part of your file. Ben pushed the bulletin toward her. Then read this before you tell me to leave. Inside were printed pages from the department's scheduling and administrative systems. Maya did not touch them immediately. How did you get these? They were within my normal access yesterday. I printed them before my permissions changed. Did anyone ask you to search my records? No. Then why did you? Because the appointment made no sense. Maya opened the first page. The Harbor House meeting had been added to her calendar from an administrative terminal assigned to Marilyn Cox, a civilian scheduling coordinator. The entry contained Helen Ward's name, the cafe address, and a short description about a harbor inspection. No case number had been attached. When was this created? Maya asked. 2 days ago. Marilyn has no reason to place meetings on my calendar without a request form. She says she does not remember doing it. You spoke with her? Only long enough to ask. She left on personal leave this morning. Maya studied the access record. Marilyn's terminal had opened her calendar shortly after a request from the deputy chief's office. Hale's office asked for my schedule. His administrative aide requested the full supervisory roster, including your appointments. That could be routine. It could. Ben pointed to the next page. This is not. The internal affairs case folder had been created before the incident at Harbor House. It did not yet contain Gordon Price's complaint, but Maya's name and badge number were already attached to it. Maya turned another page. A suspension template had been opened and edited before she entered the cafe. The same form Hale later described as an automatic response had existed before Wade planted the envelope. Ben watched her read. They knew there was going to be an allegation. They prepared to receive one. That means someone inside coordinated with Wade. It suggests coordination. It does not prove who gave the order. Ben lowered his voice. Sergeant, this is enough to show internal affairs was not responding normally. It is enough to get you suspended if they decide you accessed it for me. I printed records I was authorized to view. You printed them because of my case. Yes. Maya folded the pages and returned them to the bulletin. Do not access anything else. Ben stared at her. You cannot be serious. I am protecting you. By telling me to ignore evidence? By telling you not to give Hale another person to punish? Ben sat back. When Lieutenant Ramsey blamed me for that dispatch failure, you reviewed the logs even after he told everyone the issue was settled. That was different. You were protecting a rookie no one wanted to listen to. I was acting as your supervisor, and I am acting as an officer. Maya kept her voice low. Ben, you have been on the job for 2 years. One misconduct finding could follow you for the rest of your career. So could knowing I saw this and did nothing. She did not answer. Ben placed the bulletin back on the table. You told me once that an oath only matters when keeping it costs something. I also told you not to confuse courage with recklessness. Then show me the difference. Maya looked at the young officer across from her. He was afraid, but he had still come. Keep the copies somewhere secure, she said. Do not discuss them at the station. Do not use department equipment to contact me again. Ben nodded. That sounds less like an order to stop. It is an order not to make yourself easy to remove. After he left, Maya remained in the booth and reviewed the pages once more. A woman slid into the opposite seat. Rachel Bennett placed a business card between them. You should choose meeting places with fewer reporters, Maya said. I waited until Officer Carter left. You followed him? I followed you. Maya closed the bulletin. That is not reassuring. Rachel ordered coffee, then turned back to her. Gordon Price is a subcontractor on the harbor redevelopment project. His company received 2 emergency inspection waivers last year. That does not connect him to Wade. No, but this might. Rachel placed a printed photograph on the table. Gordon stood at a political fundraiser beside Councilman Charles Whitmore. Wade appeared in the background, speaking with one of Whitmore's campaign advisors. Public event, Maya said. Private donor reception. Still not proof of conspiracy. Rachel studied her. You are very careful for someone the city has already declared guilty. The city has not declared anything. The news has. Your department gave them the photographs before you reached home. Maya's expression did not change. Rachel continued. The photographers outside Harbor House received an anonymous message, telling them a police corruption story would break there. They were in position before you arrived. Can they identify the sender? One deleted the message. The other will not talk unless his lawyer is present. Then you have suspicion. I have a pattern. I need evidence. Rachel leaned forward. What happens when the process is the weapon? Maya gathered Ben's papers. I am not giving you an interview. I did not ask for one. Then what do you want? To know whether you intend to let Internal Affairs investigate the case they helped prepare. Maya stood. I intend to follow the facts. Rachel looked at the bulletin in her hand. Then you have already started. That evening, Daniel Reed arrived at Maya's apartment carrying a paper bag from a barbecue restaurant. You did not answer my calls, he said. I lost access to my department phone. You have another phone. I did not answer that one either. He set containers of pulled pork, cornbread, collard greens, and peach cobbler on the counter. You have not eaten. I am not hungry. That has never stopped anyone in your family from sitting down when food was offered. Maya opened the refrigerator but did not move the containers inside. Daniel noticed Isaiah's ledger pencil beside her notebook. You started writing things down. I am documenting my own recollection. Your father did the same thing. This is not about him. Daniel's expression remained patient. He was accused after someone arranged a meeting, put money near him, and took a photograph. Maya looked at him. You never told me that. You were 17. I am not 17 now. No. Now the same people are doing it to you. Daniel asked her to come to his workshop and examine Isaiah's files. Maya refused. She did not want grief turning coincidence into certainty. She still believed the official process had to be given a chance to correct itself. The following afternoon, Internal Affairs denied her request to review the complete evidence file. The notice stated that access might compromise witness integrity. Before Maya finished reading it, the local news carried a statement from Hale. He announced that the department would consider termination proceedings because the allegations had created an unacceptable loss of public confidence. The investigation was not complete. Maya had not been permitted to see the evidence, yet Hale was already discussing the end of her career. She called Daniel. Bring me my father's files, she said. Daniel did not bring the files to Maya's apartment. He told her to come to Reed Marine Electronics the next morning. If you are going to read what your father left behind, he said, you should do it where he worked on it. The workshop stood near the marina, between a boat parts supplier and a small insurance office. Daniel unlocked the front door and led Maya past the repair benches to a back room used for storage. A gray metal document box sat on the table. Maya looked at it. You kept this for 11 years? Your father asked me to. He asked you to hide it from me? He asked me not to give it to you while you were still trying to build a life. Daniel opened the box. The files had been arranged by date. Isaiah had separated letters, invoices, meeting minutes, and newspaper clippings with handwritten labels. Some documents had certified mail receipts attached. Others contained notes in the margins. Maya picked up the first folder. It concerned a hauling contract connected to the Port Mason redevelopment project. Isaiah had questioned why one company received repeated contract extensions without competitive bidding. His notes identified inflated transportation costs and payments for services that were never fully described. He thought they were moving money through the contract, Daniel said. Did he report it? 3 times. To whom? The Port Committee, the City Ethics Office, and the Police Department. Maya turned to the next document. It was a letter signed by Charles Whitmore, who had been working as an attorney for one of the contractors at the time. The letter accused Isaiah of interfering with lawful business and attempting to pressure city officials for personal advantage. He turned a complaint about fraud into an accusation against my father, Maya said. That was the first step. Daniel handed her a newspaper photograph. Isaiah stood at a civic luncheon holding a cream-colored envelope. Wade Harlan, younger but recognizable, stood behind him near the event entrance. Maya studied the photograph. Wade was there. He was working event security. What was in the envelope? Copies of revised contract terms. Your father said someone handed it to him and told him a committee member wanted him to review it. The newspaper caption described Isaiah as a contractor under investigation for accepting an improper payment. Maya set the photograph beside the image from Harbor House stored in her memory. The arrangement was not merely similar. It followed the same design. A meeting in a public place, an envelope, a prepared photographer, a statement that changed the meaning of the scene. Who investigated him? Maya asked. Daniel opened another folder. A young detective's name appeared at the bottom of the preliminary report. Robert Hale. Maya read the report slowly. Hale had concluded there was insufficient evidence for criminal charges, but he had also written that Isaiah's conduct created an appearance of improper influence inconsistent with public trust. The same phrase appeared in the notice Maya received after her suspension. She looked up. Hale used this language against me. I know. Why did you not tell me any of this when I joined the department? Because your father never proved Hale was part of it. He controlled the investigation. He controlled what went into the official file. That is not the same as proving he arranged the accusation. Maya returned to the documents. Witness statements were attached to the report. 2 people initially said they saw another man give Isaiah the envelope. Both later withdrew their statements, claiming they had been mistaken. A 3rd witness refused to cooperate after receiving notice that his company's city contract would be reviewed. Maya found a letter from Isaiah's bank. His business credit had been reduced after the investigation became public. Several clients canceled contracts within the same month. No criminal charge had been filed. It had not mattered. They did not need a conviction, Maya said. Daniel nodded. They needed people to stop trusting him. Maya opened a folder containing unpaid invoices and collection notices. Her father's handwriting became less controlled as the months passed. Short notes appeared beside names of former clients. Would not return call, said City warned them. Asked me not to come by again. Maya remembered those months differently. Isaiah had told her business was slow. He had continued making breakfast before school and asking about her grades. He never told her that people he had known for years had stopped answering him. He let me think the company failed because he made bad decisions. He did not want you carrying his humiliation. It was not his humiliation. No, but that is how they made him feel. Daniel moved another folder toward her. Inside was a handwritten page from Isaiah. They do not have to prove you are guilty. They only have to make everyone afraid to stand beside you. Maya read it twice. The sentence explained the empty seats at her father's funeral from men who once called him a friend. It explained why former business partners spoke kindly about him only after he was gone. It also explained why officers at headquarters now avoided looking at her. The conspiracy was not built only from false documents. It depended on silence spreading faster than anyone challenged it. Maya closed the folder. How did he die? You know what the doctor said. A heart attack. He was working nights trying to keep the company open. He stopped sleeping. He stopped eating properly. He spent every day answering accusations no one had formally made in court. Daniel paused before continuing. They did not kill him with a weapon, Maya. They made his life smaller, until he could not carry it anymore. She looked back at Hale's report. Whitmore created the legal accusation. Wade arranged the photograph. Hale controlled the inquiry. That is what the records suggest. They are doing the same thing again. Yes. Why now? Daniel pointed to a recent article clipped to the top of the box. It concerned the current harbor redevelopment project and a committee reviewing inspection irregularities. Maya had recently asked questions about why several complaints involving Wade's associates had been closed without follow-up. She had assumed the delays were administrative. Now she saw another possibility. They thought I was getting close to something, she said. Or they were afraid you eventually would. Maya pulled her personal notebook from her bag and divided a page into 4 columns. Who benefited? Who arranged the meeting? Who controlled the evidence? Who repeated the same language? She wrote Wade's name in the first 2 columns. Whitmore's in the first and fourth. Hale's in the final 2. Daniel watched her work. You understand these files are not enough to accuse anyone publicly. I know. Your father sometimes moved too quickly because he thought being right would protect him. Maya looked at the photograph of Isaiah holding the envelope. What should he have done? Made copies. Found witnesses before confronting anyone. Kept the facts separate from the people he suspected. Maya nodded. No illegal access. No documents without a source. No public accusations until every important fact is supported twice. Daniel's expression softened. That sounds like him on his better days. Maya placed Isaiah's handwritten warning beside her notebook. Justice is not always fair while it is happening, Daniel said. Sometimes it arrives years late with paperwork and an apology no one thought would come. Then, we make sure it arrives before they destroy someone else. Daniel handed her a business card. The name printed on it was Rosa Delgado. She handles accounts for companies near the harbor, he said. Your father trusted her family. Rachel says Rosa found payments she does not understand. Payments connected to whom? Wade, a police foundation, and Whitmore's campaign. Maya put the card inside her notebook. For the first time since Harbor House, she no longer felt trapped inside the accusation prepared for her. She had a pattern, a set of names, and a witness who might show where the money went. Now she needed to determine who would still be willing to stand beside the truth. Rosa Delgado's office occupied the 2nd floor above a neighborhood pharmacy on Harbor Avenue. Maya arrived with Daniel and Rachel shortly after the lunch rush, using the rear stairwell to avoid the main entrance. Rosa opened the door before they knocked twice. She was 39, dressed in a navy blouse and gray slacks, with reading glasses hanging from a cord around her neck. Her office was orderly. Client folders filled 2 metal cabinets, and a calculator sat beside a stack of invoices on her desk. Mr. Reed, she said to Daniel. Then, she turned to Maya. Sergeant Williams, I'm currently suspended. That does not erase the years you served before yesterday. Maya noticed the choice of words. Rosa had already decided the accusation did not make sense, but belief was not the same as willingness to testify. Rachel closed the door behind them. Rosa checked the hallway before locking it. I have less than an hour. One of my clients is coming in, and I do not want anyone asking why a reporter and a suspended police officer were here. We understand, Maya said. Daniel told me you found irregular payments connected to the harbor project. Rosa motioned them toward the conference table. I handle payroll and vendor reconciliation for several small contractors. One of them worked on the redevelopment project. At first, the charges looked ordinary. She placed a paper ledger in front of Maya. A red elastic band held the pages together. The entries had been copied by hand from electronic records. Maya looked at Rosa. Why did you make paper copies? Because the numbers changed. Rosa opened the ledger to a marked page. These were entered as community outreach, event coordination, public safety consulting, and stakeholder engagement. Different descriptions, but the payment amounts followed the same pattern. Daniel leaned closer. How much? Small enough to avoid internal review. Large enough to matter when repeated every month. Rosa pointed to the first group of entries. The payments had gone to a company called Harlan Community Services. Wade's company? Maya asked. Registered under his name. It claims to provide neighborhood relations and event security. Rachel wrote the name in her notebook. Does it have a security license? Not according to the state database. The next payments went to a political event company that had worked for Charles Whitmore's mayoral campaign. A third group was directed to the Port Mason Police Community Foundation. Maya stopped at the last entry. Hale is connected to this foundation. He is listed as an unpaid advisor, Rosa said. The foundation received donations from contractors, then paid for consulting and community events. Some of those payments returned to companies linked to the same contractors. A closed circle, Daniel said. Rosa nodded. Money went out under one description and came back under another. Do you have the original records? Maya asked. The electronic files belong to the client. These are copies I made during reconciliation. Can you show when the originals changed? Rosa opened another folder. I printed a monthly report before a meeting. 2 days later, the same report showed different vendor descriptions. The amounts were unchanged, but the names had been cleaned up. Maya compared the two versions. One listed Harlan Community Services. The revised version identified the payment as a general public relations expense. Who had authority to change the records? The project administrator, the contractor's controller, and an outside accounting consultant. Do you know the consultant? Rosa hesitated. Gordon Price. Rachel looked up. The man who accused Maya. That is why I called. Maya kept her voice steady. Did Gordon contact you after Harbor House? No, someone else did. Who? A man named Travis Boone. Rosa removed her glasses. He came here 3 weeks ago. He said he was helping contractors maintain good relations with the city. He asked whether I had questions about the project accounts. What did you tell him? Maya asked. That I was still reconciling them. What did he say? He said long-term clients preferred accountants who understood the difference between an irregularity and an inconvenience. Daniel's expression tightened. That was a warning. He never threatened me. He did not need to, Maya said. Rosa looked toward the locked door. The next week, one of my oldest clients asked whether I was becoming difficult to work with. They used the same word, difficult. Maya wrote it down. Did Travis ask for any documents? He wanted to know whether I had printed reports. I told him no. But you had? Yes. Why lie to him? Because he already knew too much about my office. Rachel asked. Will you testify that he approached you? Rosa immediately shook her head. No. You could connect Wade's organization to the financial records, Rachel said, and lose every client I have. Rosa. No. Her voice remained controlled. You write a story. People call you brave. I speak publicly. Contractors decide I am unsafe. The licensing board receives an anonymous complaint. The tax office asks for 7 years of records. My brother's engineering firm stops receiving city work. Maya glanced at Daniel. Rosa understood the system because she had spent years helping small businesses survive it. Maya said, No one is asking you to make a public statement today. Rachel leaned back but said nothing. Maya continued, I need to know what these records prove and what they do not. Rosa studied her. Most people in your position would be asking me to save them. I am asking you to tell me the truth. The truth is that money moved through Wade's company, Whitmore's campaign vendors, and a police foundation connected to Hale. The truth is Gordon Price changed records after I questioned them. The truth is Travis wanted to know whether I kept copies. Can the records be authenticated? Yes, if the original contractor files are subpoenaed. Can you identify who approved the payments? Some of them. Not all. Then we start with what can be verified. Rosa closed the ledger. You make it sound simple. It is not simple. It is only the next step. Rosa looked at Maya's empty belt, where her badge and department phone had once been. Do you regret getting involved? Maya considered the question. I regret trusting people who had already decided what the truth should look like. Rosa's expression softened, but her fear remained. I cannot promise they will not make your life difficult, Maya said. I can promise they are counting on you facing that difficulty alone. Rosa was quiet for several seconds. Then she removed the red elastic band and slid the ledger across the table. You may copy it. The original stays here. That is the right decision, Maya said. I have not decided to testify. I heard you. Rachel opened her bag and prepared a portable scanner. While she worked, Daniel accepted the café con leche Rosa offered. She placed packaged butter cookies on a plate and apologized for not having anything fresh. Daniel took one and smiled. My mother said store-bought cookies became respectable the moment you put them on a real plate. Rosa laughed once, quietly. The tension eased, but only briefly. Maya examined the payment dates again. Several entries matched private political events listed in Rachel's earlier research. One payment had been issued 3 days before the staged meeting at Harbor House. She pointed to it. Who received this? Rosa checked the account code. Gordon Price, Consulting. Rachel stopped scanning. For what service? Rosa read the description. Community coordination. Maya wrote the date in her notebook. The payment did not prove Gordon had been hired to frame her, but it placed him inside the same financial network before he walked into the cafe and thanked her for a favor she had never performed. As they prepared to leave, Rosa held the door open. Sergeant Williams. Maya turned. If something happens to my business, those records did not come from me. They came from a lawful review of financial documents. Maya said. Your name stays out of it, until you decide otherwise. Rosa nodded. Outside, Rachel asked. Do you think she will testify? Not yet. Will the ledger be enough? No. Daniel looked at Maya. But it gives us a direction. Maya opened her notebook and drew 3 lines from Gordon Price's name. One led to Wade. One led to Whitmore's campaign. The last led to Hale's police foundation. The conspiracy no longer looked like separate favors between unrelated men. It looked like a system designed to move money, influence, and blame through the same circle. Rachel arranged access to the original Harbor House photographs through the freelance photographer who had sold the first image to local news outlets. He refused to meet Maya, but he agreed to provide high-resolution copies after Channel 8's attorney confirmed he would not be identified as a source. That evening, Maya joined Rachel in a small editing room at the station. Rachel opened the first image on a large monitor. This is the photograph everyone has seen. It showed Maya standing beside the open envelope. Wade was visible across from her, and the cash appeared close enough to suggest it had fallen from her bag. Show me everything taken before it, Maya said. Rachel opened the previous frame. The envelope was still in motion. Earlier, another image appeared. Travis stood behind Maya, with one arm lowered near the side of his jacket. Maya leaned closer to the screen. Enlarge the window behind him. Rachel magnified the reflection in the cafe glass. The image lost some clarity, but Travis's hand remained visible. His fingers were open, and the cream-colored envelope was directly below them. Rachel looked at Maya. He released it. Not enough by itself. What else do you need? The complete sequence. Rachel moved through the photographs one at a time. In the first frame, Travis approached with the envelope still inside his jacket. In the second, his hand moved downward. In the third, the envelope fell near Maya's duty bag. In the fourth, Wade turned toward the photographer before Maya looked down. Maya pointed at Wade's reflection. He knew exactly when the picture would be taken. Rachel enlarged that section. Wade was not looking at the envelope. He was looking toward the phone camera. The public photograph cuts out the reflection, Rachel said. Because the reflection changes the meaning. Rachel copied the images into a protected case folder. I can put this on the evening broadcast. No. Rachel turned toward her. This is the first evidence that supports your account. It supports one part of my account. If you publish it now, Wade learns what we noticed. He already knows what happened. He does not know which mistake gave him away. Rachel considered that, then closed the broadcast window. You think there is more in the photograph? There may be more in the people connected to it. Maya asked for the original metadata, the photographer's payment records, and any messages that directed him to Harbor House. Rachel agreed to pursue them through counsel. The next morning, Rachel drove Maya to the FBI field office in Charleston. Special Agent Claire Morgan met them in a conference room without introducing unnecessary staff. Claire was 38, with a direct manner and no interest in reassurance. She reviewed the photographic sequence before asking who owned the original files. The photographer, Rachel said. Will he authenticate them under oath? Not yet. Then they are useful for inquiry, not for court. Rachel crossed her arms. The images clearly show the envelope coming from Travis. They clearly suggest it, Claire said. A defense attorney will ask whether the files were altered, whether the sequence is complete, and whether someone else handled the envelope before the first photograph. We need the original device, or sworn authentication. Maya nodded. What about the bank statement? Claire opened a folder containing the document Internal Affairs had referenced in its preliminary notice. The statement showed a deposit into an account supposedly controlled by Maya. It is false, Claire said. Rachel leaned forward. You are certain? The font does not match the bank's current statements. The branch code belongs to an office that closed 3 years ago. The account opening date falls on a Sunday, when that department does not process new accounts. Claire placed another page beside it. The address format is also wrong. It matches the way Maya's address appears in police personnel records, including the apartment abbreviation. Her bank uses a different format. Maya studied both versions. So whoever created it had access to my department file, possibly, or access to someone who did. Can you trace the document? Not from a printed copy. I need the electronic source, transmission record, or testimony from the person who created it, Rachel said. We have a planted envelope, staged photographs, a false statement, and a fake bank record. How much more do you need before this becomes a federal case? Claire looked at her. Enough to prove who did what. The pattern is obvious. Patterns guide investigations. They do not replace evidence. Maya asked, What can you do now? I can open a preliminary review into possible public corruption and document fabrication. Quietly. If Hale knows the FBI is looking, records may disappear and witnesses may adjust their stories. Rachel said, That is already happening. Then we move carefully. Claire gathered the documents. Truth is what happened. Evidence is what can be proved happened. My job begins where those two things meet. Before Maya left Charleston, she received a message from Captain Grant requesting that she report to headquarters for a private administrative discussion. Hale was waiting alone in his office when Maya arrived. He motioned toward a chair. I thought we should speak without attorneys making everything hostile. Maya remained standing. Why am I here? Hale opened a folder. The city is prepared to offer you a dignified resolution. You resign voluntarily. There is no criminal referral from the department. Your personnel file remains confidential. Your retirement contributions are protected, and future employers receive a neutral reference. The investigation is not complete. This offer allows you to avoid further damage. To whom? To yourself. Maya looked at the document, but did not touch it. Why offer me a settlement before Internal Affairs finishes reviewing the evidence? Hale folded the lower half of the agreement over itself. You are young enough to build another life. Do not sacrifice the next 30 years trying to win an argument about one afternoon. This is not an argument. Someone fabricated evidence. That is your position. It is also what the photographs and bank documents show. Hale's eyes narrowed slightly. What photographs? Maya let the question remain between them. He had responded too quickly. She said, I want a copy of the agreement. This discussion is privileged. You placed a written offer in front of me, and you declined it. I have not answered. You came here prepared to reject anything I said. No. I came here to learn why my future matters more to you than finishing your own investigation. Hale closed the folder. You should be careful, Maya. Confidence can become pride very quickly, and procedure can become pressure. She left without signing. In the hallway, Maya opened her notebook and wrote down Hale's exact question. What photographs? He had revealed that Wade had not yet told him about the reflection. For the undertime, Maya held evidence the conspiracy did not know she understood. 3 days after Hale offered her a resignation agreement, Maya attended the Port Mason Oyster Festival, with Rachel watching from a distance. The festival filled the public square beside the waterfront. Whitmore's campaign volunteers handed out brochures near the entrance, while local businesses operated food stands around the central stage. Maya had come because Rachel believed several people connected to the harbor project would be present. She wore plain clothes and carried no department equipment. Her personal notebook remained inside her jacket. Wade Harlan found her before she reached the records booth. He approached with 2 cups of sweet tea and held one out to her. I thought suspended officers were supposed to stay home. Maya looked at the cup, but did not take it. I thought businessmen attended public events without bringing photographers. Wade smiled. Still angry about the cafe? I am careful about accepting drinks from people who plant cash beside my bag. He set the extra cup on a nearby table. You have already decided I am responsible. I watched Travis drop the envelope. You watched what you expected to watch. That line worked better before the photographs were examined. Wade's smile remained, but his jaw tightened. Maya saw the reaction and knew Hale had not warned him about the reflection. The information had remained inside their circle. Wade lowered his voice. I came over because I think someone is using both of us. You filed a statement against me. I told Internal Affairs what I saw. You told them the money came from my bag. That is what it looked like. You were looking at the photographer before the envelope reached the floor. Wade glanced toward the campaign booths. You have been speaking to reporters. I have been reviewing evidence. He studied her for a moment. Hale is not your friend. I never said he was. He needs a scandal. You were convenient, and I was nearby. Now the city gets to pretend it is serious about corruption. Maya allowed him to continue. Wade had approached to learn what she knew. If she defended herself too strongly, he would become cautious. If she appeared uncertain, he might carry information back to the people protecting him. What do you want? She asked. To help you find the person who arranged this. You expect me to believe you were also framed? I expect you to understand that men like Hale do not share power. They borrow people until the job is finished. The statement contained enough truth to sound convincing. Maya looked toward the stage, where Charles Whitmore was greeting donors. You know him better than I do. Hello? Whitmore? Wade laughed. I have shaken his hand at public events. That does not make us partners. Neither does being seated at the same private fundraiser. His eyes changed again, but he recovered quickly. You have been busy. Not as busy as whoever altered my calendar. Wade stepped closer, careful to remain in full view of the crowd. If you want the truth, stop looking at me and ask who had access to your schedule. I already know the schedule came from inside the department. Then why are we arguing? Because you were waiting at the cafe. Someone told me where you would be. Who? He smiled. Now we are finally having a useful conversation. Maya let several seconds pass before giving him the false information she had prepared. The full audio from Harbor House survived. Wade's expression did not change immediately. What audio? The recording that started before you mentioned the inspection. It includes Travis discussing the envelope. That detail was invented. Wade looked past her toward one of his associates, near the food stands. If you had that, you would have released it. Unless I wanted to know who became nervous when they learned it existed. He picked up the unused cup of sweet tea. You should be careful with recordings. People hear what they want to hear. I plan to let a federal examiner decide what is on it. That was the final piece of pressure. Wade left without another question. Maya did not follow him. She moved toward a Veterans Association booth and spoke briefly with Daniel, who had volunteered to help serve lunch. Rachel remained near the main stage with a clear view of Wade. He took it, Maya said. Daniel handed an older man a plate before answering. How can you tell? He asked why I had not released the recording. He never asked whether it was real. Rachel contacted Maya later that afternoon. Wade had left the festival through a side exit and met Travis in a private dining room at the Palmetto Club. Rachel's source inside the club confirmed that Travis stayed less than 20 minutes. Afterward, Travis drove to Whitmore's campaign office. Before evening, Captain Grant received a message from Internal Affairs asking whether Maya had obtained unauthorized recordings from Harbor House. The false information had passed through the entire chain. Maya met Rachel and Daniel at Reed Marine Electronics after the festival closed. Rachel covered Daniel's work table with copies of event programs, donor lists, club directories, seating charts, and campaign expense reports. She drew a line from Wade to Travis. From Travis, she drew another line to Whitmore's deputy campaign manager. A third line connected Whitmore's event company to the police foundation advised by Hale. Wade is not listed on most official guest lists, Rachel said, but he appears in photographs from the same events. His company receives payments for community outreach, and those events generate donations to Hale's foundation. Daniel examined a fundraiser program from the Palmetto Club. This place used to raise scholarship money for dock workers' children. It still does. Rachel said. That is what makes it useful. People see a familiar name and stop asking who is sitting in the private room. Maya reviewed the records. None of them independently proved conspiracy. Together, they showed repeated access, money, and communication. Rachel placed one final document on the table. It was an invoice from an event management company owned by Whitmore's sister. The invoice covered scheduling assistance for a police foundation luncheon. The employee assigned to the work was Elaine Porter. Maya recognized the name from Ben's calendar records. Elaine had used Marilyn Cox's terminal during the same week the false Harbor House appointment appeared. She could have placed the meeting on my calendar, Maya said. Or someone used her access, Rachel replied. Daniel looked at the growing network of names. You have enough to ask her questions. Not enough to accuse her, Maya said. Rachel gathered the event records into separate folders. Elaine volunteers at Grace Methodist on Thursdays. She helps organize the church's charity lunches. Daniel looked toward an old photograph of the Palmetto Club hanging near his desk. A civic room does not become corrupt because powerful men enter it, he said. It becomes corrupt when good people decide manners matter more than questions. Maya closed her notebook. Wade had tried to present himself as a possible ally. Instead, he had carried her false information directly into the network she was trying to prove existed. Now she knew the route. The next step was finding out whether Elaine Porter had joined the conspiracy willingly or had simply been taught not to ask what her work was being used for. Elaine Porter agreed to meet only after Rachel promised there would be no cameras, no recording equipment, and no story published without warning. She chose the fellowship hall at Grace Methodist Church on Thursday afternoon. The charity lunch had ended, and several volunteers were still folding tablecloths and stacking chairs. Elaine waited near the kitchen entrance with a paper cup in both hands. She was 41, neatly dressed, and visibly uncomfortable when Maya approached with Rachel. I was told this was just a conversation, Elaine said. It is, Maya replied. You can leave whenever you choose. Elaine looked toward Rachel. And nothing I say goes on television? Not without your agreement, Rachel said. They sat at the end of a long table. Maya placed no documents in front of Elaine. She wanted to hear the woman's account before showing her what they already knew. Do you know why we asked to meet? Maya said. Elaine stared into her cup. Because of the appointment at Harbor House. Did you create it? I entered it. From Marilyn Cox's computer? Elaine nodded reluctantly. I was at police headquarters helping prepare a luncheon for the Police Community Foundation. Marilyn let me use her terminal to print a guest list. And, while you had access, you placed an appointment on my calendar. Yes. Who asked you to do it? Elaine hesitated. Rachel said. We already know the name Helen Ward came through a temporary phone number. Elaine's eyes moved toward her. Maya kept her tone calm. I am not asking you to guess what we know. I am asking what happened. Elaine lowered her voice. Travis Boone gave me the information. How do you know Travis? He helps coordinate security and transportation for some of our events. Did he tell you why he wanted the meeting placed on my calendar? He said Whitmore's office was testing the department's community response process. He said they wanted to know whether senior officers were receiving requests from local businesses. A test authorized by whom? He did not say. Did you ask? Elaine looked away. No. Why not? He knew the name of the business. He knew your schedule was open. He spoke as if everyone who needed to know had already approved it. Maya wrote nothing down. What exactly did he ask you to enter? Helen Ward, Harbor House Coffee. A confidential concern involving a harbor inspection. Did he tell you not to include a case number? Yes. Did that seem normal? No. Then why did you do it? Elaine's expression tightened. Because people who work around city government learn when questions are welcome and when they are not. That is not an answer. It is the only one I have. Maya let the silence remain. Elaine continued. My company is owned by Councilman Whitmore's sister. Most of our contracts come from campaign events, city foundations, and businesses tied to the harbor project. Travis said the request was harmless. If I had refused, someone else would have done it, and I would have been the one who looked difficult. Maya recognized the word Rosa had heard before. Who told you it was harmless? Elaine looked at her. The question affected her more than any accusation would have. Travis did. And you believed him? I believed he had authority. That is different. Elaine set the cup down. I did not know about the money. I did not know Wade would be there. I did not know reporters had been called. Did you know internal affairs would be nearby? No. Did anyone contact you after the cafe incident? Travis called that evening. He told me not to discuss the calendar entry, because internal affairs might misunderstand an administrative error. Did he ask you to delete anything? He asked whether the temporary phone number remained in the appointment notes. What did you tell him? That I did not know. Was it still there? No. The entry had already been changed. Rachel leaned forward. Changed by whom? I could not see the account history. I no longer had access. Maya asked. Will you provide a written statement confirming what you just told us? Elaine shook her head immediately. I cannot. You entered a false appointment into a police sergeant's official calendar. I understand that. The appointment was used to stage a bribery allegation. I said I did not know that would happen. A statement would help establish that and destroy my career. Elaine looked toward the volunteers at the other end of the room. Maya whiz. My employer will say I acted alone. Whitmore's campaign will deny knowing me. Travis will say I misunderstood. By the end of the week, I will be the woman who abused access to frame a police officer. Remaining silent gives them the same option, Maya said. Speaking guarantees it, Rachel said. If you testify with documents supporting you, they cannot isolate you as easily. You make that sound simple. It is not simple, Maya said. But you should understand the position they placed you in. Elaine folded her hands. I have worked in this city for 16 years. I organized church dinners, retirement receptions, campaign events, scholarship benefits. My name matters to me. So does mine. Elaine looked at her, ashamed. Maya did not soften the point. They used your access to attack my name. If the plan fails, they may protect themselves by blaming you. Elaine's face changed slightly. Travis said no one would be hurt. No one had to be physically hurt. The purpose was to end my career. Elaine stood. I cannot sign anything. Maya remained seated. Then do not sign today. Elaine picked up her purse. Before leaving, she stopped beside the table. Our event company keeps duplicate files. Rachel looked up. What kind of files? Official billing files and working files. The working files include handwritten seating charts, last-minute guest changes, private room assignments, and vendor notes. Where are they kept? In storage at the company office. Would the private fundraiser at the Palmetto Club have one? Yes. Who was seated near Whitmore? Elaine's hand tightened around her purse strap. Wade Harlan. Gordon Price. Travis Boone. Hale's communications advisor. Rachel asked. Can we obtain the file legally? The company billed part of the event to a city-affiliated foundation. The supporting records may be subject to disclosure. Elaine opened the door. I did not tell you to request them. No, Maya said. You told us. They existed. Elaine left without looking back. Rachel waited until the door closed. She is afraid. She should be, Maya said. They gave her just enough responsibility to take the blame, and not enough information to protect herself. Within 2 days, Rachel obtained the fundraiser's supporting records through a lawful document request. The handwritten seating chart placed Wade, Gordon, Travis, Whitmore, and Hale's advisor in the same private section of the room. On the official guest list, Wade's name did not appear. Someone had removed him from the public record while preserving him in the working file. That evening, Ben called Maya from outside the station. Internal Affairs had questioned him about the calendar records and reassigned him to property inventory. They want me away from the system, he said. Do not give them a reason to do more. I kept the original printouts. Good. Keep them off department property. Ben was quiet for a moment. Elaine talked? Not officially. Will she? Not until she understands silence will not save her. Maya ended the call and added the seating chart to Isaiah's files. The conspiracy was becoming clearer. Wade created scenes. Travis arranged access. Whitmore's circle supplied the setting. Hale controlled what became official. Elaine had not yet become a witness, but she had shown Maya where the private version of the truth was kept. Luis Delgado agreed to meet Maya at the Port Mason Public Library because he did not want anyone seeing her enter his engineering office. He arrived carrying a flat document case and a fountain pen clipped inside his shirt pocket. Rosa had already explained that her brother reviewed part of the harbor redevelopment project, but she had not told Maya how much he feared becoming involved. Luis took the seat across from her in the library's records room. "My sister says you need to see 2 reports. I need to understand why they are different." He placed the first document on the table. "This is the technical review I submitted." The report identified several concerns in the harbor project. 2 construction phases used nearly identical cost estimates. A drainage upgrade had been priced far above the regional average. One contractor had received additional work without a new competitive review. Luis opened the second report. "This is the version approved by the city." The warnings were gone. The final page carried his signature. Maya looked at him. "Did you sign this version?" "No." "Did you authorize anyone to sign for you?" "No." Rachel sat beside Maya and compared the 2 copies. "When did you first notice?" 3 months ago. I thought someone had attached the wrong signature page." "What did you do?" Maya asked. "I contacted the project administrator. He said the changes had been discussed at a committee meeting." "Were you at that meeting?" "There was no meeting on my calendar." Luis pointed to the date, listed in the final report. "I was in Charleston that day, inspecting a hospital renovation. I have mileage records and a signed site log." Maya examined the altered document. The signature looked convincing at first glance, but the block sat slightly lower than it did on Luis's original report. The spacing between the page number and footer was also different. "Who had access to your signed drafts?" "The project administrator, the city consultant, and my firm's document coordinator." "Was Gordon Price involved?" Luis nodded. His consulting company handled compliance review. Rachel looked at Maya. That gave Gordon access to another altered record tied to the same harbor project. Maya turned back to Luis. "Did anyone contact you after you questioned the report?" "A man called from an unlisted number. He said the licensing board had received concerns about the quality of my recent work." "What kind of concerns?" "He never said. He told me professional reputations were easier to protect when disagreements stayed inside the project." "Did he identify himself?" "No." "Did you recognize the voice?" Luis hesitated. "I heard Travis Boone speak once at a contractor reception. It could have been him." "Could have been is not enough." "I know." He touched the fountain pen in his pocket. "My mother used this when she signed the mortgage on our first house. She made Rosa and me watch because she wanted us to understand that a signature meant responsibility. I have used it for every major project since I became an engineer." He looked at the forged approval. "That signature says I stood behind numbers I warned them about." Maya understood why he had brought both the pen and the report. The forgery was not only a financial crime. It had taken his professional identity and used it to legitimize someone else's decision. "A signature is supposed to mean a person stood behind the words," Luis said. "That is why they stole yours," Maya replied. "They needed your honor more than they needed your permission." Luis looked toward the door. "If I challenge this publicly, the board could suspend my license while they investigate. If you remain silent, the forged report may become the official record. Then any later failure will carry your name. You are asking me to choose between my career now and my career later. I am asking you to protect the truth before someone else defines what your signature means." Rachel placed the 2 reports side by side. "There are differences beyond the missing warnings." Maya followed her finger. The altered version referred to an appendix that did not exist in Luis's original. It also listed a notary certification dated the same day as the committee meeting. Luis frowned. That notary was not commissioned until the following month. "You are certain?" Maya asked. "I checked the state registry after I saw the signature." "Do you have a printed copy?" He opened the document case and removed the registration record. Maya added it to the sequence. The altered report contained a forged signature, a false meeting reference, and an invalid notarization. Those errors could establish that the final document had been assembled after the fact. Rachel checked the meeting date against the fundraiser records from Elaine's files. This was the night of Whitmore's private donor reception. Luis looked at her. The project administrator attended that event. So did Wade, Gordon, Travis, and Hale's advisor, Maya said. The false meeting had given the altered report an official explanation. The real gathering had placed the principal members of the network in the same private room. Luis asked, "What do you need from me?" "A signed statement explaining which report you prepared, which changes you did not authorize, and where you were on the date of the supposed meeting. And the originals? Keep them secured until Claire can arrange lawful custody. Make certified copies. Do not hand the only originals to anyone connected with the city." He nodded slowly. "My sister said, you would not promise this would be easy. It will not be. Can you promise it will matter?" Maya considered the question before answering. "It already matters. The forged report is being used to move public money and hide who objected. Whether the system admits that depends on whether the people named in the record are willing to correct it." Luis removed the fountain pen and signed a short acknowledgement identifying the original report. His hand remained steady. As they prepared to leave, Rachel received a message from Daniel. He had found a sealed envelope Isaiah mailed to himself 11 years earlier. The postmark placed it before the accusations that destroyed his company. Inside were meeting minutes, contract copies, and a draft statement Isaiah had never presented. Maya looked at Luis's forged signature one more time. The current scheme was no longer only repeating the language used against her father. It was repeating the entire method. Daniel had already opened Isaiah's sealed envelope when Maya arrived at Reed Marine Electronics. Rachel and Claire were seated at the work table, each wearing thin archival gloves. The envelope had been sent by certified mail 11 years earlier and addressed to Isaiah himself. The postmark established when the contents had been assembled. Daniel pointed to the receipt. "Your father wanted proof that these documents existed before anyone could change the record." Maya sat beside him. "What did he keep?" Claire arranged the contents in order. There was an original set of port committee minutes, correspondence with the city ethics office, a copy of the disputed hauling contract, notes from Isaiah's meetings with Robert Hale, and a written statement Isaiah had prepared, but never delivered publicly. Maya reached for the statement. Isaiah's handwriting was controlled at the beginning. As the pages continued, corrections appeared in the margins. Along with names and dates, he had underlined more than once. He described how the dispute began after he questioned a contract awarded without competitive review. The prices were higher than previous hauling agreements, yet the work had been divided among companies with overlapping owners. Isaiah had requested an explanation. Charles Whitmore, then an attorney representing one of the contractors, responded by accusing him of attempting to interfere with lawful business. A week later, Isaiah received an invitation to a civic luncheon. At the event, Wade Harlan directed him toward a private table, where someone handed him a cream-colored envelope and claimed it contained revised contract terms. A photographer captured the exchange. The envelope did contain contract papers, but the newspaper report described it as an improper payment. The accusations spread before Isaiah was allowed to respond. Maya lowered the page. The same envelope, the same public setting, and the same kind of photograph, Rachel said. Claire examined the certified mail receipt again. "This helps establish a pattern, but we still have to prove the current defendants knew about the old method." Daniel passed Maya a copy of Hale's original investigative notes. Hale had interviewed Isaiah twice. In the first meeting, Isaiah identified Wade as the man who directed him to the table. He also named 2 witnesses who saw another person hand him the envelope. Both names appeared in the notes. Neither appeared in the final report. "Why were they removed?" Maya asked. Daniel opened another folder. One withdrew his statement after his city hauling permit came under review. The other said he had remembered the scene incorrectly. Rachel read the dates. Both changed their accounts within the same week. Maya continued through Isaiah's statement. He wrote that Hale repeatedly encouraged him to accept a private resolution. If Isaiah stopped challenging the contract, the city would make no criminal referral. His business record would remain technically clean. The language was nearly identical to the offer Hale had made Maya. "Young enough to rebuild," Maya said, quietly. Daniel looked at her. "What?" "That is what Hale told me. He said I was young enough to build another life." Isaiah's statement quoted Hale, saying that a man with Isaiah's experience should protect what remained of his future instead of fighting over one misunderstanding. Different words. Same pressure. Claire took notes. Hale presents surrender as maturity. That allows him to avoid making an explicit threat. Maya turned to the final pages. Isaiah described the consequences after the accusation became public. Several clients canceled contracts. The bank reduced his credit line. A supplier changed his payment terms. Former business partners stopped returning calls. No court found him guilty. No agency issued a final conclusion against him. The uncertainty did the damage. Rachel read one paragraph aloud. They did not need to prove I took money. They only needed every customer to wonder whether I might have. Maya looked at the photograph of her father holding the envelope. For years, she had remembered only the end of his business. The late bills, the calls he refused to discuss, the nights he sat alone, with folders spread across the kitchen table. She had assumed he was trying to repair mistakes he had made. Now she understood that he had been trying to preserve a truth no one with power wanted recorded. Daniel said, "He did not tell you because you were 17 and preparing for graduation. He let me believe he had failed. He believed protecting you mattered more than defending himself at home." Maya's voice tightened. That was not his decision to make. "No," Daniel said. "But shame makes people think silence is protection." Claire placed Isaiah's draft statement beside Maya's suspension notice. The phrase appeared in both files, an appearance of improper influence inconsistent with public trust. Rachel compared the documents. Same structure. Same legal phrasing. Hale wrote the police report in Isaiah's case, Maya said. His office used the same language against me. Claire nodded. That can become significant if we connect it to the internal template Ben found. Daniel handed Maya another page. It was Isaiah's list of people he believed should be questioned. Wade Harlan, Charles Whitmore, Robert Hale, Gordon Price's former business partner, 2 city contractors, an event coordinator. Maya recognized the structure before she finished reading. Wade created the encounter. Whitmore gave it political purpose. Hale controlled the official response. Others provided access, witnesses, or paperwork. The same division of labor had been used against her. Rachel asked, "Why would they repeat a method this closely?" "Because it worked," Maya said. No one exposed the full sequence the first time. Claire closed the evidence folder. Then we do not give them a second isolated victim. We build corroboration around every step. Maya returned to Isaiah's statement. Near the end, he had written a final line in darker pencil. If they succeed, they will use this again. Maya pressed her fingers against the edge of the page. For one moment, she heard her own doubt from the previous week, the private question she had never admitted aloud. What if her father had accepted something? What if the old accusations contained part of the truth? The thought now filled her with shame. Daniel seemed to understand. "The cruelest part of a lie," he said, "is not that strangers believe it. It is that the people who love you begin asking whether they missed something." Maya looked at Isaiah's photograph. "Dad, I thought your silence meant you had given up. I did not know silence was the only place they had left you." She placed the certified envelope beside her notebook. "This changes the purpose of the case," she said. Rachel looked at her. "You are no longer only trying to clear your name. No, I want the method exposed. Every staged meeting, every altered record, every witness, pressured into silence." Claire's expression remained cautious. "Personal history will make Hale argue that you are obsessed. Then the documents lead. Not me. That is the right answer." Maya wrote 4 words at the top of a new page. Same method. Same people. Beneath them, she listed what still had to be proved. Who prepared the false appointment? Who ordered Gordon's appearance? Who created the bank statement? Who gave internal affairs advance notice? Who connected the current operation to Isaiah's case? Daniel returned Isaiah's draft statement to its protective sleeve. "What happens next?" Maya closed her notebook. "We stopped treating my case and my father's case as separate events." Outside the workshop, someone taped a new campaign flyer for Charles Whitmore to a utility pole. The slogan promised honest leadership for Port Mason. Maya looked at it through the window, then back at the documents. 11 years earlier, the men behind that promise had learned they could destroy a person without proving a crime. Now they had repeated the process against the wrong family. The pressure began before Maya had time to organize the new evidence. Rosa called first. The state revenue office had scheduled a compliance review of her accounting firm. They want 7 years of client records, Rosa said. The notice says it is routine. Did they explain why your firm was selected? No. But it arrived 2 days after I gave you the ledger. Do not send anything until your attorney reviews the request. I cannot afford to look uncooperative. You also cannot allow them to take records beyond the legal scope. Rosa lowered her voice. One of my oldest clients canceled this morning. They said they needed an accountant who was less involved in political matters. Maya wrote down the exact wording. Did they use the word difficult? Rosa was silent for a moment. Yes. The same word had been used by Travis and by the client, who first questioned Rosa's judgment. It was not proof, but repetition showed coordination. Luis called an hour later. The state engineering board had summoned him to answer an anonymous complaint about incomplete project reviews. Ben had received a formal suspension notice for alleged misuse of internal records. Channel 8's legal department had blocked Rachel's report. Daniel learned that his city maintenance contract was under review. None of the actions looked connected on paper. Together, they formed a message. Everyone who stood beside Maya would pay a professional price. That afternoon, Councilman Whitmore appeared on local television to discuss the harbor project. He did not mention Maya by name. We cannot allow personal grievances, racial accusations, or family history to distract this city from progress, he said. Public service requires maturity, not resentment. Maya watched the interview from Daniel's workshop. Rachel turned off the television. He just described you without naming you. He wants me to answer emotionally. If you stay silent, his version becomes the only one people hear. If I respond now, he says I proved his point. Daniel set Isaiah's files aside. That is why men like Whitmore speak in general terms. They want the target to identify herself. Maya opened her notebook. Whitmore had added another element to the campaign against her. Hale used procedure. Wade created appearances. Whitmore gave the attack a respectable public explanation. Her phone rang. Captain Grant asked her to report to headquarters for a private meeting with Hale. This time, Maya brought her attorney. Hale refused to continue while counsel was present. This is an informal conversation, he said. Then it can wait. Maya replied. Hale studied her before asking the attorney to remain outside. Maya agreed only after placing her personal phone on the table with the recording function active and telling Hale she was documenting the meeting. He did not object. You are making this harder than necessary, Hale said. For whom? For the people supporting you. He placed copies of Rosa's tax notice, Ben's suspension order, and a public document concerning Luis's licensing review on the table. Maya looked at them without touching them. How did you obtain Rosa Delgado's private tax notice? It has been discussed inside city government. It was issued this morning. Hale ignored the question. Your friends are suffering because you refuse to accept what this situation has become. You mean what you are making it become. I mean that leadership requires knowing when your position is causing harm. Maya understood his purpose. He wanted her to see loyalty as selfishness and resignation as sacrifice. You are offering the same agreement again, she said. I am offering you a way to protect people who trusted you. You suspended Ben. Ben violated policy. Rosa gave me lawful copies of business records. Rosa may have misunderstood her obligations. Luis reported a forged signature, and now his professional conduct is being reviewed. Maya leaned forward. You want me to believe all of this happened independently? I want you to recognize that your campaign is pulling innocent people into a dispute you cannot win. My campaign? Your attempt to turn a bribery investigation into a political conspiracy. Maya held his gaze. Did you say the same thing to Isaiah Williams? Hale's expression changed, only slightly, but she saw it. Your father's business problems have nothing to do with this department. You investigated him. I handled a preliminary complaint. You removed 2 witnesses from the final report. That was 11 years ago. You remember the details quickly. Hale's voice hardened. You are becoming emotional. Calling a woman emotional does not answer the question. He stood, ending the meeting. Think carefully about how much more damage you are willing to cause. Maya collected her phone. You keep describing retaliation as damage I created. Hale opened the office door. You should leave. Maya did, but the meeting had given her something useful. Hale knew about each act of pressure before some of the affected people had told the public. He had also reacted to Isaiah's name as though the old case remained dangerous. The following morning, Maya visited the Municipal Records Annex to compare the archived Port Committee minutes with the copy Isaiah had preserved. The building was open to the public. She signed the visitor log, requested the file by number, and worked at a table beneath a security camera. The official packet differed from Isaiah's version. 2 pages were missing. Those pages contained his objections to the hauling contract. Maya placed both versions side by side and photographed the page sequence with the records clerk's permission. Still digging through your father's complaints? Travis Boone stood in the hallway. This is a public records area, Maya said. Do not interfere. He approached the table. Wade thinks you are wasting your time. Then Wade should stop paying attention. Travis reached for Isaiah's copy. Maya moved the folder away. Do not touch the records. I only want to see what you have. You have no right to it. He grabbed the edge of the folder and pulled. Maya released the paper before it could tear, stepped to his side, controlled his wrist, and turned his arm behind him. She guided him against the wall without striking him. Travis tried to twist free. Go ahead, he said. Give them another picture of the angry cop. Maya looked directly at the security camera above the door. The camera recorded you reaching first. His resistance stopped. Let me go. When security arrives. The records clerk called building security. Maya maintained the wrist control without increasing pressure. She spoke clearly for the camera. Mr. Boone attempted to remove documents after being told not to touch them. He is being temporarily restrained to prevent further interference. 2 security officers arrived and separated them. Travis adjusted his jacket. She attacked me. The records clerk shook her head. No, sir. You grabbed the file. 1 officer reviewed the camera feed and confirmed the sequence. Maya declined to file an assault complaint. She requested only that the incident and the attempted removal of records be documented. As Travis was escorted from the annex, he looked back at her. The confidence he had shown at Harbor House was gone. The first trap had depended on controlling the beginning of the recording. This time, Maya had seen the camera before she moved, stated the warning clearly, and allowed the complete sequence to speak for her. She returned to the table and examined the pages Travis had tried to take. 1 missing committee page contained a handwritten routing mark from Hale's office. For the first time, the old records placed him directly inside the process that removed Isaiah's objections. By the next morning, the 2 missing committee pages were no longer the only records in question. Claire called Maya before sunrise. The official Harbor House evidence file has been updated, she said. The department now claims the exterior camera produced no usable footage. Was the footage reviewed before it became unusable? The report does not say. What about the cafe recording? Internal Affairs logged a partial copy. The section showing Travis approaching you is missing. Maya sat at her kitchen table and opened her notebook. That is the second official record to lose the part that supports my account. It is also why we need authenticated copies outside city control, Claire said. Do not confront Hale. He wants you reacting before we can establish who altered what. An hour later, Rachel called with more bad news. Her news director had canceled the planned investigation after receiving a legal warning from Whitmore's campaign. They are threatening a defamation suit, Rachel said. The station will not air anything unless every source agrees to go on record. Elaine will not. Not anymore. She withdrew everything she told us. Did she say why? She left a message saying she misunderstood Travis and entered the appointment on her own. Maya closed her eyes. The new version protected Whitmore, Wade, and Hale, while leaving Elaine exposed as the lone employee who created the false meeting. She is repeating the story they prepared for her, Maya said, or the story her lawyer told her to repeat. Before noon, Gordon Price submitted a supplemental affidavit claiming Maya had contacted him after Harbor House and pressured him to change his complaint. The accusation was false, but it gave Internal Affairs a reason to describe Maya's independent investigation as witness interference. Rosa then called to say another client had ended its contract. Luis received notice that his licensing review had been moved forward. Ben's suspension became unpaid. Daniel's city service contract was canceled without explanation. Every person who had helped Maya was being separated from the work that gave them security and standing. That afternoon, Claire met Maya, Rachel, and Daniel at Reed Marine Electronics. The evidence covered most of the work table, but the strongest originals remained outside their control. Claire reviewed the situation. The photographs suggest Travis planted the envelope, but the photographer has not agreed to authenticate them. Rosa's ledger shows suspicious payments, but the city can call them ordinary consulting fees. Luis can prove his report was altered, but not yet who ordered the alteration. Isaiah's file establishes an earlier pattern, but Hale will say Maya's personal history is shaping the current accusation. Rachel folded her arms. You are saying we know what happened, but still cannot prove the whole network. I am saying we can prove parts. We cannot yet connect all three men directly enough to survive coordinated denials. Maya looked at the names on her timeline. Wade, Whitmore, Hale. They had designed the conspiracy so no single document carried the full truth. Daniel asked, what happens if the department votes to fire her? The termination hearing is scheduled for next week, Claire said. If the current record stands, the city may argue it acted reasonably, even if the criminal accusation later fails. Maya understood the distinction. She could eventually prove she had not accepted a bribe and still lose her career because Hale had manufactured enough uncertainty to justify dismissal. That evening, she drafted a resignation letter. She wrote that her decision was voluntary and intended to prevent further disruption to the department and the people who had supported her. The language sounded responsible. It also sounded like surrender written in Hale's voice. Maya folded the letter and drove to the harbor. Daniel found her sitting on a public bench near the marina. He did not ask how he knew where she would be. You wrote it? He asked. She handed him the folded page. He read the first paragraph and gave it back. If I resign, Rosa keeps what remains of her clients. Luis may protect his license. Ben may get his job back. You do not know that. They are being punished because they stood beside me. They were punished because the punishment worked before. Maya looked toward the water. Justice has not been fair to any of them. Justice is not fair in the middle, Daniel said. In the middle it is paperwork, loneliness, and people asking why you did not choose the easier lie. That does not help Ben pay his rent. No. But surrender does not return what they already took. It only tells them the price was high enough. Maya unfolded the resignation letter, but did not tear it. Her phone rang. Ben was calling from the property inventory office. I found the missing minutes, he said. Where? Not the archive copy. Another copy. Explain. Every official committee packet goes to more than one place. The clerk keeps one. City legal gets one. The insurance office receives one if public funds are involved. Contractors sometimes receive attachments. Hale could remove a file from the archive, but he could not know where every duplicate went. Daniel heard enough of the conversation to begin opening Isaiah's boxes. Ben continued. Check the packet attached to the old insurance certificate. Isaiah's copy may include the pages. Daniel found the folder within minutes. The missing objections were there, along with the routing mark from Hale's office. Maya stood. Ben, do not access anything else. I did not. I remembered how the packet system works. That may have saved the record. After the call ended, headlights crossed the workshop windows. Captain Evelyn Grant entered carrying a black notebook. She remained near the door. I should have come sooner, she said. Maya did not offer reassurance. Why are you here now? Because Hale told me today that I would confirm the suspension paperwork was prepared after the complaint. Was it? No. Grant placed the notebook on the table. She had recorded dates, meetings, and verbal instructions for months. Her entries showed that Hale had mentioned Harbor House before Maya arrived there. He had ordered the suspension form prepared in advance, spoken with Whitmore after the incident, and instructed Grant not to create minutes for several command meetings. Maya turned the pages carefully. You knew he was hiding decisions. I knew he was avoiding a record. I told myself that was politics, not corruption. You remained silent. Yes, helping now does not erase that. Grant met her eyes. I know. Rachel's phone rang before anyone could continue. Elaine Porter had learned that Whitmore's attorneys intended to blame her for creating the false appointment without authorization. She was ready to testify. Rachel ended the call and looked around the table. Grant had the private command record. Elaine could establish how the meeting was created. Ben had identified the duplicate document system. Isaiah's copy restored the missing pages. Maya picked up her resignation letter. They survived because every victim faced them alone, she said. She tore the letter once, then again. Claire asked, "What are you thinking?" No more private interviews. No more evidence disappearing between offices. Maya placed the pieces of the letter beside Hale's timeline. "We request an open disciplinary hearing. Every witness in the same room. Every document entered on the public record." Grant nodded slowly. "Hale will oppose it. He has spent 2 weeks saying public confidence requires transparency." Rachel understood first. If he demands secrecy now, he exposes himself. If he agrees, the cameras stay on. Maya closed Isaiah's file. For the first time, the conspiracy would not control which part of the story the public was allowed to see. The city approved Maya's request for a public disciplinary hearing 2 days later. Hale opposed it in writing, arguing that an open proceeding could damage the department and influence witnesses. Maya's attorney responded with Hale's own public statements about transparency and public confidence. By the end of the day, the hearing was scheduled in the Port Mason City Council chamber. Rachel secured permission for Channel 8 to broadcast it live. Claire coordinated with federal prosecutors, but kept the preliminary corruption review confidential. If Hale, Whitmore, and Wade believed the hearing concerned only Maya's employment, they might commit themselves to statements they could not later change. The preparation took place at Reed Marine Electronics. Daniel cleared the main work table and covered it with labeled folders. Maya stood at one end with her notebook open. Claire sat beside a legal pad, while Rachel arranged certified copies of photographs, event records, and public filings. Captain Grant brought her handwritten notebook. Ben carried the calendar logs and suspension records inside a plain document envelope. Rosa placed her paper ledger on the table, with the red elastic band still around it. Luis brought both versions of the engineering report and the state record showing the notary's commission date. Elaine arrived last. She remained near the door until Maya motioned toward an empty chair. "You can still change your mind," Maya said. Elaine sat down. "Whitmore's attorney called me this morning. He said the campaign would support me if I admitted I created the appointment without authorization." "What did you say?" "That I wanted the offer in writing." Rachel looked up. "Did they send it?" "No. They ended the call." Claire made a note. "Good. At the hearing, answer only what you personally saw, heard, or did. Do not guess about motives." Elaine nodded. "They will say I am trying to protect myself." "You are trying to protect yourself," Maya said. "That does not make the facts untrue." Claire turned to the group. "The order matters. We do not begin by accusing all 3 men of a conspiracy. We let them describe their own version first." Daniel asked, "Why give them the advantage?" "Because confidence makes people specific," Maya said. "Once they commit to details, the records can test those details." Rachel placed 3 name cards at the center of the table. Wade Harlan, Charles Whitmore, Robert Hale. Maya pointed to Wade's card. "He will claim Harbor House was accidental. He will say he barely knows Gordon and that Travis acted independently." She moved to Whitmore. "He will say Wade attended public events as a vendor. He will describe every payment as legitimate community work." Then Hale. "He will say he learned about the complaint after it happened and suspended me according to policy." Ben opened the suspension logs. "We can prove the form existed before the complaint." "Not first," Maya said. Ben frowned. "Why wait?" "Because Hale needs to say under oath that the document was created afterward. If we show him Claire nodded. "We are not hiding evidence. We are controlling the order of presentation." They built the hearing sequence one piece at a time. First, Wade would establish that the cafe encounter was unplanned. Then Rachel would authenticate the photographic sequence showing Travis releasing the envelope and Wade watching the photographer. Whitmore would be asked about his relationship with Wade and Gordon before the seating chart, donor photographs, and vendor payments were introduced. Hale would describe the suspension process before Ben presented the creation time and Grant testified about his instructions. Luis would compare the original engineering report with the altered version. Rosa would trace the payments through Wade's company, Whitmore's campaign vendors, and Hale's police foundation. Elaine would explain how Travis gave her the false appointment and instructed her to leave out the case number. Daniel would introduce Isaiah's certified records only after the current method had been established. The final evidence would be the repeated phrase used in both disciplinary files, an appearance of improper influence, inconsistent with public trust. Claire drew a line beneath the phrase. This is where the old case and the current case meet. Until then, keep them separate. Maya looked at Isaiah's draft statement. Hale will say I am using my father's history to excuse myself. He probably will, Rachel said. Then I do not defend my emotions. I ask who accessed the old template. Ben placed the printer records beside the statement. His office did. Daniel watched Maya arrange the files. Your father would have put the largest accusation first, and they would have called him angry before he reached the second page. Daniel accepted the answer. The preparation continued into the evening. They removed duplicated exhibits and shortened witness questions. Claire rejected anything based only on inference. Rachel separated public records from confidential sources. Maya insisted that every important document have a clear origin and a witness capable of explaining it. Captain Grant reviewed her testimony twice. You understand Hale will attack your motives, Maya said. He will say I resented him for being promoted over me. Did you? Grant considered the question. Yes. The room became quiet. Grant continued. I believed I was more qualified. That does not change what he said, or when he said it. Then say both, Claire told her. Do not let Hale reveal a truth you tried to hide. It will make every other answer look weaker. Rosa asked what would happen if the hearing chair limited discussion to Maya's conduct. Maya answered, every document connects directly to how the accusation was created or processed. If they try to exclude the evidence, my attorney will state the objection publicly. Luis held his mother's fountain pen between his fingers. I have never testified before. You are not there to perform, Maya said. Explain which report you wrote, which one you did not approve, and why the signature is false. What if Whitmore's attorney tries to confuse me? Return to the document. That became Maya's instruction to everyone. Return to the document. By the night before the hearing, the evidence had been divided into numbered binders. Certified copies were secured with Claire. Originals remained with their lawful custodians until formally requested. Maya went home and opened her closet. Her uniform still hung inside, but she had no authority to wear it. She chose a navy suit and a white blouse. On the dresser rested Isaiah's silver watch, repaired by Daniel after years in a drawer. The next morning, she fastened it around her wrist. At the council building, church leaders, retired officers, veterans, accountants, engineers, harbor workers, and small business owners were already waiting outside. They had not come because they all believed Maya. Some had come because they recognized the method used against her. Wade entered through the front doors, smiling. Whitmore arrived with 2 attorneys and greeted reporters by name. Hale used a private entrance, but appeared in the chamber composed and prepared. Maya took her seat beside counsel. Rachel leaned over the railing behind her. You all right? Maya looked at the 3 men across the room. They think we brought sympathy. What did we bring? Maya opened the first binder. Sequence. The hearing began with Wade Harlan under oath. He sat comfortably, one hand resting near the microphone, and described Harbor House as an accidental encounter. I stopped for coffee, he said. Sergeant Williams was already there. I made a joke. Then an envelope fell near her bag. Maya's attorney asked whether Wade had arranged to meet her. No. Did you bring Travis Boone with you? We arrived separately. Did you know Gordon Price would enter the cafe? No. Did you know a photographer would be present? Wade smiled. People take pictures everywhere. His answers were simple and confident. Maya did not challenge them yet. Charles Whitmore testified next. He said Wade was one of many people he had met at public events and denied any private business relationship with him. My campaign works with hundreds of vendors and volunteers, Whitmore said. I cannot be expected to remember every handshake. He described the harbor payments as ordinary expenses and called the accusations against him a distraction from the city's redevelopment plans. Robert Hale followed. He stated that internal affairs informed him of the bribery allegation after the incident at Harbor House. According to Hale, Maya's suspension had been prepared only after photographs in Gordon Price's complaint reached the department. "I acted to protect public confidence," Hale said. Sergeant Williams's age, race, and gender had no bearing on the decision. Maya watched him finish before opening the first binder. Ben Carter was called to explain the department records. He identified the calendar access log, the internal affairs case folder, and the suspension form. Maya's attorney placed the records on the chamber screens. The complaint from Gordon Price was filed after Sergeant Williams entered Harbor House, Ben said. The suspension document naming her was created 47 minutes earlier. Hale leaned toward the city attorney. When questioned, he said the form had been generated from a blank administrative template. Ben shook his head. A blank template would not contain her name, rank, badge number, and assigned command. Could an employee have anticipated a developing complaint? Hale's attorney asked. Not unless that employee already knew who would be accused. Maya's attorney turned toward Hale. You testified that you learned of the allegation after the cafe incident. Who entered Sergeant Williams's information before that incident occurred? I cannot account for every clerical action in the department. His earlier certainty had become a clerical mystery. Rachel testified next. She authenticated the photographs supplied by the freelance photographer and displayed them in their original sequence. The first showed Travis approaching Maya. The second captured his hand, leaving his jacket. The third showed the envelope falling. The fourth showed Wade looking toward the photographer before Maya reacted. The enlarged reflection in the cafe window made Travis's open hand clearly visible above the envelope. Wade's attorney objected that a reflection could be misleading. Rachel answered, "That is why we are presenting the full sequence instead of one selected image." Maya's attorney asked Wade whether he still believed the envelope had fallen from Maya's bag. "It looked that way from where I stood." The next image showed him watching the camera rather than the envelope. "Then why were you looking at the photographer before Sergeant Williams knew the envelope was there?" Wade shifted in his chair. "I heard the phone." The audio from Maya's body camera contained no notification sound. Claire Morgan presented records showing Gordon Price had received a consulting payment from Wade's company 3 days before Harbor House. Wade said he barely knew Gordon. Rachel then produced the private fundraiser seating chart. Wade and Gordon had been seated together beside Travis and Whitmore's campaign manager. Whitmore called the arrangement random. Additional photographs showed Wade and Gordon together at 2 earlier events. Whitmore changed his explanation. Mr. Harlan occasionally provided event services. Rosa Delgado testified that Wade's company had billed for security work despite lacking the required state license. The payments had been classified as community outreach and passed through vendors connected to Whitmore's campaign and the police foundation advised by Hale. Whitmore dismissed the matter as poor bookkeeping. Luis Delgado then placed his 2 engineering reports before the panel. He explained which warnings had been removed and confirmed that the signature on the approved version was not his. "The final report says you attended a committee meeting," Maya's attorney said. "I was working in Charleston that day. My site log and mileage records confirm it. The listed notarization was also invalid because the notary had not yet received a commission." Whitmore blamed administrative employees. Elaine Porter took the witness chair. Her hands trembled at first, but her voice remained clear. "Travis Boone gave me the name Helen Ward and asked me to place the meeting on Sergeant Williams's calendar. He told me to leave out the case number." Travis stared at her from the second row. "Did you know Wade Harlan would be waiting?" Maya's attorney asked. "No." "Did you know an envelope would be planted?" "No." "Who told you the appointment was harmless?" "Mr. Boone." Whitmore denied that Travis had any meaningful role in his organization. Rachel displayed invoices, event schedules, and private room assignments showing that Travis repeatedly coordinated campaign functions. Whitmore adjusted his testimony again. "He occasionally assisted vendors." Maya's attorney asked, "Councilman, did you barely know him, or did you trust him with private campaign logistics?" Whitmore accused the hearing of turning routine civic relationships into suspicion. Captain Evelyn Grant was called next. She testified that Hale mentioned Harbor House before Maya arrived there and ordered preparation of the suspension documents in advance. She also confirmed that he instructed her not to record several command meetings and called Whitmore immediately after Maya's suspension. Hale's attorney suggested Grant resented being passed over for promotion. "I did resent it," Grant said. A murmur moved through the chamber. She continued, "That does not change the dates in my notebook." Her handwritten entries matched the department call records and building access logs. Hale said the notes could have been created later. Grant looked directly at him. "That is the difference between us, Robert. I brought records. You brought motives." Daniel then introduced Isaiah Williams's certified envelope. The documents showed the same method used 11 years earlier. A public meeting, a planted envelope, a selective photograph, frightened witnesses, and an inquiry controlled by Hale. The old report and Maya's current disciplinary file contained the same phrase: an appearance of improper influence, inconsistent with public trust. Ben presented the printer history showing Hale's office accessed the old template shortly before Maya's appointment was created. Hale argued that the phrase was standard language. Maya's attorney asked why language from an internal police document appeared in a contractor complaint drafted during Isaiah's case. Hale answered, "Mr. Whitmore may have encountered it while providing legal services." Whitmore turned sharply toward him. "I never had access to police templates." The contradiction landed before either man could correct it. Wade leaned toward his attorney, but Hale continued speaking. "I did not say he accessed it directly. You told me the department would handle her," Wade said. The chamber fell silent. Hale stared at him. "I have never discussed Sergeant Williams's case with you." Whitmore spoke without thinking. "Wade, be quiet and let your attorney answer." Maya's attorney waited until every camera had turned toward Whitmore. "Councilman, why would Mr. Harlan obey an instruction from a man you testified you barely know?" Whitmore tried to explain that he was addressing courtroom conduct. Wade understood that both men intended to leave him carrying the entire conspiracy. "Hale gave us her schedule," he said. "Whitmore wanted her gone before she connected the port accounts to her father." "That is a lie," Hale said. "You wrote the script," Wade replied. Travis stood and moved toward the chamber exit, with an exhibit binder under his arm. Ben blocked the doorway. "That binder stays here." Travis shoved his shoulder and reached past him. Maya stepped between them, turned Travis's wrist, and guided his arm behind his back. She held him against the wall without striking him. "Stop resisting. Security is coming." Travis looked toward the cameras. "Now they will see what you really are." Maya kept her grip controlled. This time, every camera saw the beginning. Court security handcuffed Travis and recovered the binder. Claire stepped into the aisle as federal agents entered through the rear doors. The hearing chair announced that all disciplinary action against Maya was suspended immediately. Across the chamber, Hale, Whitmore, and Wade no longer looked like men telling the same story. They looked like men deciding which one of them would fall first. Within 3 weeks of the hearing, Robert Hale was removed from command and indicted on charges of falsifying records, obstructing an official investigation, conspiring to fabricate evidence, and interfering with witnesses. The man who had built his reputation on transparency left the federal courthouse through the front entrance because reporters had blocked every other exit. He stopped once beneath the cameras, but no prepared statement could answer why Maya's suspension form existed before the accusation against her. Charles Whitmore withdrew from the mayoral race the morning his campaign treasurer began cooperating with federal investigators. By evening, his largest donors had removed their names from his website. 2 days later, he resigned from the city council before his colleagues could vote to remove him. The state froze the harbor redevelopment contracts and opened an independent audit. The first review confirmed that project costs had been inflated, engineering objections had been removed, and payments had been routed through consulting firms that performed little or no documented work. Wade Harlan was charged with fabricating evidence, manipulating witnesses, fraud, and conspiracy. Without Hale controlling the official record or Whitmore protecting the financial network, several former associates agreed to testify. Gordon Price admitted that Wade's company had paid him to enter Harbor House, force a handshake with Maya, and make a false statement about an inspection. In exchange for cooperation, prosecutors agreed to consider a reduced sentence. Travis Boone faced charges for placing the envelope, arranging the false appointment through Elaine, interfering with witnesses, and attempting to remove hearing materials. The full council chamber recording showed that Maya had restrained him only after he pushed Ben and tried to leave with an exhibit binder. No edited image could change the sequence this time. The city's formal decision in Maya's disciplinary case arrived on a Monday morning. Captain Evelyn Grant asked her to come to headquarters. Maya entered through the same lobby she had crossed after surrendering her badge. Several officers looked up as she passed. Some had avoided her during the investigation. Others had quietly sent messages through Ben or Daniel, but had been unwilling to speak publicly. Grant waited in the command conference room with the police chief, a union attorney, and 2 members of the independent review panel. The chief stood when Maya entered. "Sergeant Williams, the panel has completed its review." He read the findings without shortening them. The envelope had been planted. The bank statement had been fabricated. The Harbor House appointment had been placed on Maya's calendar through unauthorized access. Internal Affairs had been notified before any legitimate complaint existed. The suspension procedure had been compromised by Deputy Chief Hale. Maya's conduct at Harbor House, the records annex, and the public hearing had been professional and restrained. "All allegations against you are dismissed," the chief said. "Your rank, pay, seniority, and full personnel standing are restored." He placed her badge on the table. "The city also owes you a public apology." Maya looked at the badge but did not pick it up immediately. What happens to the officers whose older disciplinary cases used the same language and procedure? The chief paused. "Those files will be reviewed." "By whom?" "An independent panel." "Will accused officers receive access to the evidence used against them?" "That recommendation is under consideration." "What protection will exist for employees who preserve records or report command misconduct?" Grant answered. "A new evidence integrity policy is being drafted." Maya looked from Grant to the chief. "I am grateful to have my name cleared, but reinstating me is not reform." The chief nodded slowly. "We understand." "No," Maya said. "You understand now because the hearing was public. The next person may not have cameras." The room remained quiet. Maya picked up her badge. "I will return, but I want a written plan for independent evidence review, whistleblower protection, and mandatory preservation of administrative records." The chief agreed. Outside the conference room, Ben waited beside the elevators in his only dark suit. His suspension had been removed, and his property inventory assignment had ended that morning. One of the department's older patrol officers approached him with 2 cups of coffee. He handed Ben one. "You did all right, Officer Carter." Ben smiled. "Thank you, sir." The older officer walked away before the moment became uncomfortable. Ben looked at Maya. That was almost a compliment. From him, it was a ceremony. Rosa's tax review ended without penalties. Several clients returned after the federal indictments became public, while others were replaced by small business owners who had watched her testimony. She began offering free monthly workshops on record-keeping and city contracts. Luis's engineering license was cleared. The altered report was removed from the project file, and his original objections were restored to the public record. He signed his corrected statement with his mother's fountain pen. Rachel's investigation aired as a 5-part series titled The Appearance of Guilt. The reports examined how official language, selective images, and controlled procedures had been used to isolate multiple people over more than a decade. After the first broadcast, former contractors and city employees contacted Channel 8 with similar stories. Captain Grant remained in the department and testified in every related proceeding. She did not present herself as a hero. At a press conference, she admitted that her delay had strengthened Hale. "I told myself caution was professionalism," she said. In reality, silence protected the person with more power. Isaiah Williams's case was formally reopened. The final city statement confirmed that he had raised legitimate concerns about public contracts, that records had been manipulated, and that the accusation against him had been used to damage his business without proof. The city created the Isaiah Williams Public Integrity Program to protect contractors and employees who reported fraud. At the dedication, Daniel wore Isaiah's old Marine Corps tie clip. He placed the restored Williams Harbor Transport sign inside Reed Marine Electronics. Beneath it, Maya added a small plaque. He kept the records. Several weeks after her reinstatement, Maya returned to Harbor House. The manager greeted her at the door. A retired dock worker offered his hand. A church deacon who had attended the hearing addressed her as Sergeant Williams with deliberate respect. Maya ordered black coffee and a slice of pecan pie, then sat at the same table where the envelope had fallen. Rachel joined her. "Do you feel like you won?" she asked. Maya looked toward the window. The reflection that exposed Travis was still visible in the glass. "Not victory," she said. "Correction. What is the difference? Victory is when you defeat someone. Justice is when the truth survives everyone who tried to bury it." Rachel stirred her coffee. Was it fair? Maya thought of Isaiah losing his company, Rosa losing clients, Luis defending his own signature, Ben sitting alone in property inventory, and Grant waiting too long to speak. "Justice is not always fair," Maya said. "Sometimes it arrives after the damage, carrying a correction where an apology should have been. But when it comes, we make it tell the whole truth." Later that afternoon, Maya returned to headquarters. Her badge rested on her desk beside a new notebook. Isaiah's ledger pencil lay across the first blank page. She wrote one sentence: "Official report." The evidence did not fail. The people entrusted with it did. Grant appeared at the doorway. "The command meeting is ready." Maya fastened the restored badge to her uniform and followed her into the conference room. The officials inside stood when she entered. They did not applaud. Their silence carried more weight than applause would have. Maya took her seat as Isaiah's repaired watch continued ticking on her wrist. For the first time in 11 years, the truth in Port Mason was no longer waiting outside the room. The lesson from Maya's story is that injustice often survives by isolating people and controlling which part of the truth the public is allowed to see. Courage does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it means keeping careful records, standing beside frightened witnesses, and refusing to surrender when powerful people expect silence. Justice may arrive late, but truth becomes stronger when ordinary people choose to protect it together. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this story. Your time and support mean more to us than you may realize. Please share your thoughts about the way this story was told. Was the pacing clear? Did the emotions feel natural? Were there any moments that should have been explained differently? Your feedback helps us improve every new story we bring to the channel. And if you have a meaningful story about injustice, courage, loyalty, or someone who refused to give up, please consider sharing it with our channel. Your story may inspire others, remind someone that they are not alone, or help a truth finally be heard. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.